Oh, you damn right. It's time for another modcast. And sometimes you just got to admit what you got to admit. And that's what happened with the modcast. Modcast is going to be at noon on Tuesdays for the foreseeable future, through the spring, let's say. Our man, Jeff Ketchum, finally admitted there's got to be a boss day. And we've been asking him to pick a boss day. Like, if it's going to be this day, just tell us. Or if it's this day, is it this day? Which day is it? Is it a couple days? You're the boss. Tell us. Finally, he's told us it's Tuesday. So, unfortunately for you modcast viewers, you have to replace that beautiful, sexy bald man with this bald man. I can't control that part, but we'll see what we can do. I'm Chad.
Ratings are already down.
That's right. Ratings are already plummeting, but 3/4 of the modcast will stay the same, which means you're just going to get just even more brain power out of Anwar Richardson, Jason Sukumel, and Alex Dunlap. Fellas, as always, I appreciate you adjusting your schedule as well, because I know this changes up some things for you guys on a Tuesday. We appreciate it. We also appreciate the good folks at Daily and Black. In fact, we'll go ahead and throw that QR code up in the corner, and we'll leave it there for you for a little while. If you need lawyers that are on your side, check them out. Daily and Black. It's dailyblack.com, or just click on the QR code. You can get there that way. You can also get into the chat. See, now it looks like I intentionally put that up and then took it down. Jay, I didn't. I didn't even see what it said, but going to be pissed if Catch isn't here today. Sorry, Jay. Sorry. JD Hack throwing in some emojis as well. And a reminder from S. Roan to like the video and subscribe. So jump on in there if you have something for us. A chat. Super chats always go to the top of the list. Gentlemen, as we sit here on a Tuesday, and I think it's 207 days till Texas plays Ohio State. We can circle back around to that one. There's a few things I wanted to get into with you guys. And Anwar, I think I'll start with you and Tashard Choice. I want to get Jason's thoughts and Alex's thoughts as well. But obviously you had some reporting on this week. Give everybody kind of now that it's done, give us kind of the 10,000 foot view on this whole Tashard Choice thing. As a Cowboys fan, I felt like somebody I respected wanted to date the craziest girl I'd ever dated. And I wanted to can you get a message to him that that's probably not a good idea? I never thought this made any sense, but line it up for everybody about kind of how you think this went for Tashard Choice and how he ended up staying in Texas.
Obviously the Cowboys reach out and they have a vacancy. So obviously Tashard Choice, he's been there. He started off as, a coach, kind of more like analyst, on their staff before. Clearly, prior to that, some of the playing days in there. So there's a lot of familiarity with what he does. But at the end of the day, never really made a lot of sense. You can talk about, you don't have to worry about recruiting and transfer portal and all those kind of things. But at the end of the day, you can make more money kind of as a position coach, really, in college football than you probably will in the NFL. And the other thing too, with a guy like Tashard Choice, who actually does have some ambitions to go a little bit further, I don't know. Kind of feel like you get stuck in the NFL at a running back coach like that. That just becomes your label, and that's what everyone kind of knows you as. And so, I think at the end of the day, probably a really good agent, making sure he gets an interview, so he gets a nice little pay bump, gets pay bumped about, Clancy reported about $800,000 is probably what he's going to make at Texas now. And, it's a key part. One of the things that I was told over the weekend was that if they did lose Tashard Choice, it would be viewed as a huge loss for that staff, just because of how good a recruiter, Jason and I talked about this, how good a recruiter he really is. And, really, even as compared to a Stan Drayton viewed as a good coach, not really a strong recruiter. And so he's viewed as a good coach and recruiter, ties to Georgia. So it felt like it would have been a huge loss if he left, but that's why Texas goes ahead. They pony up, they give him a little bit more money. That makes him happy, keeps him here at Texas, and kind of preserves a good thing going, not only coaching wise, but more importantly, recruiting wise.
Yeah, that definitely helped. Jason, we've got already chats coming in. I think a lot of Texas fans agreeing with JD Hack, happy that Choice is staying. And to Anwar's point, the stability there that it provides is great for Texas, and obviously a little extra money in the pocket for Choice doesn't hurt.
Yeah, and he's got I don't know what his exact family status is, but I know he has a young baby, and so uprooting your family, there's something to be said about that. Not that Austin to Dallas is that big of a move, but they've got roots in Dallas at this point. He's been here a while, but yeah, I agree with everything Anwar said. I mean, I think from a coaching standpoint on the field, I mean, you look what he's done, and you give him some credit for developing Jonathan Brooks and obviously Roshan and Bijan to some degree, and even this year, Trey Wisner. I mean, I don't think people expected Trey Wisner to be what he was this year, and Tashard Choice helped develop him, and he deserves some credit there. But from a recruiting perspective, I mean, this guy's an ace recruiter. I mean, you could argue, I don't want to say he's the ace recruiter because Texas has several really good recruiters on staff, but you could make an argument that he might be the most dynamic and certainly energetic recruiter on this Texas football staff. So I think keeping him in Austin, like Omar said, hey, smart play by Choice and his agent, do the interview, got a pay bump out of it, which is certainly more than justified. But I think that's a big development for Texas to keep him in Austin.
Yeah, and Alex, when I read through, like notes Jason's got from recruits and stuff, and they're mentioning Tashard Choice's name as it's a big deal when he comes to my living room as well. It's not just about Sark. Some of these other guys on the staff have a name that they've built. I mean, just the stability here. I'm thinking of Ohio State. They're going to have a different OC and DC next year, and now that Choice isn't going anywhere, I mean, just the stability of everything around that coaching staff. It's huge for Texas.
Man, at some point, Texas is gonna have to lose some coaches, aren't they?
Right?
I mean, golly, it's been just a historic run here of just keeping dudes to get. I mean, I know they lost Bo and stuff, but it's been pretty steady around here with these dudes. I think they like being here, and I think to Anwar's point, what he said earlier about, man, in the NFL, you look at these NFL head coaches, and right now, this could change, but these guys are all like quarterbacks coaches that worked for like McVay and went somewhere and was an offensive coordinator for a year, and then they get the head job, right? It's I'm racking my brain. And there's probably one that I'm just trying to think like what head coaches right now in the NFL were former running backs coaches. It's like Freddie Kitchens was an interim head coach for the Browns 1 year. He came from being a running backs coach. I guess the guy I've already forgotten his name, but the guy that took over for Matt Eberflus in Chicago this year was a running backs coach, and he got the interim for a while. But I kind of adding on to what Anwar said, it feels like at the college level, if you have aspirations to move up within the college level, right? If you're a running backs coach that's an ace recruiter like he is, so much of what you look at as far as the overall package and in your ability to move from job to job and to have upward career mobility is tied to how good a recruiter you are. Like it's a big extra, arrow to have in your quiver as a coach in college, whereas all that goes to dust in the NFL. Right. It's like, it doesn't matter if you're a great recruiter, Yeah. So if that's something where it's like this part of my skill set distinctly suits me much better and is a huge value add in the Saturday game as opposed to the Sunday game. Why not see if I can stick around here in a really good situation? And who knows what's going to happen in Dallas, dude? Like, are we sure that Schottenheimer's not getting fired after next season?
That's the first. And when Jason mentioned, not wanting to uproot your family, that's certainly a consideration. But Anwar, you've covered the NFL. You know what world that is. But we're talking Jerry and the Cowboys in the NFL. It's just not normal. It's not a normal version of that league. And I mean, if you don't like recruiting, it's one thing. But I would have told Tashard Choice a few days ago, boy, you better hate recruiting. I mean, you better hate recruiting worse than you've ever hated anything if you want to walk into this version of that circus.
Yeah, it's what Alex just said. I mean, like you once for the most part you get that job in Dallas, so you're probably a dead man walking. Just a matter of when they pull the carpet on you. It's not a matter of if, and so I think for somebody else, that's a great position. But if you're Tashard Choice you're on a team that's been to back-to-back college football semifinals. You're working with Steve Sarkisian. You guys are pulling off the #1 class, and they can give you a pay bump, and you don't have to deal with some of that stuff. And look, he's still young enough where that makes sense. Like we all know how it is when you're young. You still got that energy. Like, yeah, he's still young enough to have that energy. He's not at that point where it's like, I'm just burnt out, right? And then, they've got staff members who can help him out and do certain things. But going in there in that realm, in that circus, where you don't have any control over who they give you, who they put in that room. Like, at least in college, you can go out and recruit the guys that you want. You have some control. You just got some GM that tells you that's who you have. And if the GM says, you know what, we got rid of this guy, we cut this guy, we traded this guy, then you guys you what can you do? You can't say or do anything, And again,
look at Jason Kidd, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But not a lot of upward mobility. Again, it's a weird thing in NFL. And Alex was just back from the Senior Bowl. Alex, how many guys have you seen that are receivers coaches for the last 15, 20 years, wearing a different, polo, but here they are. You remember this guy, running back coach. You're like, oh, I thought you were with the Raiders. Oh, now you're with this guy. Like, once they tell you, once you get in the NFL and they're like, this is what you are, that is pretty much what you are for the rest of your career. And you don't want to do that in Dallas.
Yeah. No. Agreed, especially with the last sentence.
And speaking of Dallas, I still haven't seen any person involved in the Lakers-Mavs trade that doesn't look shocked, except maybe Anthony Davis. He's old enough that he's putting the professional face on. Everyone else looks shocked. Everyone else still is trying to process what's going on. We sit here on a Tuesday when Luka is announced as a Los Angeles Laker. I'm going to try not to watch that press conference as a Mavs fan.
You're a Mavs fan?
I am.
Bill?
I am
Bill?
somehow. I mean, dude, I go back to Brad Davis,
don't like
and
you.
Mark Aguirre. I know they don't. They don't like me at all.
Hey,
And, I wasn't going to be one of those dudes on wire that dragged a coffin down to the stadium yesterday.
Yeah, I like that. I like the jerseys that they put on there. Like this. Oh, it's very depressing.
Chad, take a guess who my favorite basketball team is.
The Lakers.
Yes, sir. So
that's why
this my game. Yeah.
So you helped Anthony Davis pack. That's why he got on that plane so fast.
I didn't, but I gladly would have. That dude drives me nuts. So enjoy him in Dallas.
Yeah. Ringing endorsements all over the place. If y'all want to throw a super chat in, we can do that. We've had a couple of super chats already in. Juan, $4.99. Chad, do you believe in Joe Hendry? And what do you think of the Royal Rumble aftermath? Juan, I'm enjoying Royal Rumble aftermath as always. I thought both sides made some sense, and I did not know who Joe Hendry was, but I'm learning. I'm trying to figure it out. And thank you for that.
Is that a wrestling reference there?
It was. It's a little pro wrestling reference.
I don't know who Joe Hendry is.
They paid, so we're just trying to, thank you for the super chat. And thanks to Jay Lee, says drinking game, take a shot every time Jason cough. Let's not make fun of people coughing. He's trying to get
drops already, Jay Lee. I'm ready to
come
roll.
on, Jay. The man's trying to keep it together. And then Matt wants to know any news on the Notre Dame lineman transfers. Haven't heard anything in a while. Matt, thank you for the question.
I think no news is bad news with those guys. I'm not sure that I don't know. Jason's the guy to ask, but I don't have a good feeling about it.
Yeah, I'm with you, Alex. There has been nothing to report that I've heard of, so I'm like you. No news is not good news in this instance for Texas.
Yeah, Matt, thank you for that one. If you guys want to throw a super chat in, it will go right to the top. Just want to make sure we're not missing anything there. We'll also talk a little portal stuff, some recruiting, and other things. Also, we want to thank you for jumping in the Specs chat. If you are into Specs and maybe you're on the wine side of things, wine connoisseur, they got a sale going on. Pay attention.
With hundreds of wines on sale, Specs is turning these aisles into the ultimate love story.
Uncork something special during Specs' huge wine sale, going on now. Specs, the fun starts.
you go.
That sounds sexy.
Uncork something special.
That sounds sexy and appealing.
Well, see that? They got the sexy advertising going. Y'all check that out as soon as you can. All right. So Tashard Choice sticking around for Texas, solidifying the coaching staff. And one of those next steps in fans' mind is kind of what's been going on in the portal. And it's funny, yesterday, Anwar, Ketch and I were talking about some portal stuff. I know you've had discussions with him and others about it and sort of what should be next, I guess, for Texas. So for all you guys, let me start with, now that the Hero Kanu thing has happened, is there a spot for you? And we just had a question to those offensive linemen from Notre Dame. Is there a particular position for you where you're thinking the next portal story will come from? Whether it's the beginning of the spring, I guess it's got to be the beginning of the spring window. But once we get there, any sense for what position may start this thing? Jason, let me start with you.
In terms of what do I feel like Texas needs to address?
Right. You're right. If there's one position that they would start with.
Honestly, there's a few different directions we could go with this, but I'd probably say kicker, honestly. At least someone who can come in and compete with Burt Auburn. Is Will Stone going to be that guy? I don't know. We saw him kicking in the game against Ohio State, but is he your answer? I don't know. I would speculate that he's maybe not. Otherwise, he would have been given an opportunity well before that Ohio State game. So I'd start with kicker. I still think they could use another body at defensive line. They can certainly use some veteran leadership at receiver. I'd probably go kicker, though. Maybe second, Chad, for me would maybe be tight end, honestly, which they weren't ultra aggressive in the first window at tight end. They brought in the one player, but those are kicker and tight end. Maybe offensive line, they need some depth at those positions.
By the way, if we believe our chatters, looks like we're getting the chatters on both of the Notre Dame guys. Somebody's saying Rocco Spindler commits to Nebraska in the Big Ten, and also Big Ten wise, somebody is saying Coogan did sign with Indiana. So there you go.
If those guys staying in the Midwest, I guess Flood didn't. I guess Flood didn't want Coogan. I thought he would have been a good fit. For me, it's interior offensive line, center, guard, and then tight end. I hadn't really thought about kicker just because I don't think much about that stuff until they're out there on the field. This again. But
48-yarder.
Now that Jason mentioned it, I guess that's kind of true, dude. Why? Doesn't Pro Kick Australia just have these dudes just on auto?
They only do punters.
That's punter though. They specialize. They're not sending people kickers.
Well, all right. Call Chris Saylor or one of these. Call one of these guys. They always have dudes that are super, super good. And I know that there have been guys that Texas has had come through. Like trying to think, like wasn't Dixon's cousin one of those guys, but he turned out not to be as good and stuff. So I guess it's been a mixed bag. But Bushevsky was that guy.
Yeah. Bushevsky,
but the kick man for me, just look at the tight end. It's like what Spencer Shannon, Will Randall, Jordan Washington. Those none of Randall didn't even play this year. Spencer Shannon played 50 snaps. Yeah. Jordan Washington hardly played. Tight end, I think, is the biggest one. Mm-hmm. And there's the fact I was thinking maybe Nick Townsend could come in and get something done, but then I remembered he's not coming in until the summer. He's not going to be here for spring. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see this spring. Sort of one of those guys can step up. I think. I personally, from what I've seen of these guys in practice and stuff, I think that the most talented is Jordan Washington. But they play too. They play 12 personnel 45% of the time. I guess they could change that. There's a bunch of talented young wide receivers coming in, but for me, it starts with. I think it's whether it's more important to go with the interior offensive line and just give yourself a little bit of insurance there that maybe Nato Yamusalo doesn't take the step forward, or Cole Hudson doesn't take a step forward, or Daniel Cruz isn't ready. I think just having one extra piece in there, like guard, or specifically maybe a guard with center versatility, gives you a little more room there between the left guard and the center. Make sure that you have something reasonable and serviceable. So I would say for me, it's number 1 interior offensive line, number 2 tight end, and then I guess I'm with Jay. I guess kicker. I just wondered. I mean, do you think that maybe Auburn could have got? I mean, he's been good before. Cody's always talking about these stats about how if you look at his like career percentage as far as field goals, like he's so far he's still better than like Cameron Dicker. So I don't know if he
almost like he's gotten progressively worse though.
Yeah,
so,
I don't know if once you get those yips, you can get rid of them. But I do think that's a good call for sure. I don't think at this point the defensive tackles. I mean, they've got 3 of them that are. I think they're pretty good fits. I think I would have that farther down the list than those 3.
Anwar, where does it start for you?
Well, it doesn't stop. The only thing I would just comment with the tight end thing is that I don't need to see Texas go in the transfer portal and get another tight end. I've seen Jaleel Billingsley, I've seen Maury Nyblack. Like I'm good. Like I'm good. And maybe just say don't go to Alabama to get your tight ends, and maybe that's the key.
Spread out.
Maybe you find someone else across the country, but I don't need to see that again. But I'm not discounting anything that Alex or Jason is saying. I don't know. Like I start a little bit on a receiver thing. It's just very fascinating to me that Sarkisian went into last year, even though he had talented guys on the roster, telling himself
he knew about Jonte Anwar. That's the thing.
Well, he clearly
knew. Yeah,
he clearly knew that Jonte was not. There's more. When the question was, well, why is Jonte not playing more? And it's like, well, I think the answer now. I think it's pretty damn obvious, right? But he wanted guys with experience too, right? And so, that was kind of one of his mantras. And it's kind of the same thing. Well, he's got guys who are talented, not a ton of experience. You obviously, and again, Ryan Wingo's super talented. DeAndre Moore, good when healthy. But I would like to just see one extra receiver. I don't need to see 3. You don't got to throw the kitchen sink at me. Just give me one guy who's kind of proven himself at another program. So I know for sure you go into the season with Arch having as many playmakers as possible. Like you want to make sure you solidify that for him, in which case then I would not be 100% opposed to Alex's suggestion of having someone on the interior of the offensive line, just to make sure, again, shore that thing up and make sure you got somebody who's proven, who's physical. I feel okay about the guys on the outside, but I definitely, if you tell me, you give me somebody else on the inside, I would do that. And probably third for me, none of the guys have mentioned, but I would go cornerback, quite honest with you. And I would try to make sure I've just got one more guy that I know for sure is that baller. Again, one of the things that have been told to me behind the scenes, in the offseason has been, look, they moved Jahdae Barron into that cornerback position out of necessity, more so than anything else. Like and of course, Jahdae Barron takes off and becomes, one of the best DBs in the country, but it was out of necessity because they didn't necessarily have the quarterbacks there. So they need one other guy. And I just like to see one other guy in there competing, even if he doesn't end up emerging into the starter. We'd like to see one other guy in that position. But I can't discredit the kicker thing either. I mean, I can't discredit. They already got a punter. I can't discredit the kicker thing. Don't get me started. I don't want to. I haven't done it this week, but my biggest complaint that I'll do all offseason is 2 kickers, 2 punters, and 1 long snapper on scholarship. That's way too many guys for that position. And so, so don't get me started. It annoys me. It's chalk. I just want to tackle Jeff Banks for that. But other than that, though, I'm okay. I can't have 3 kickers on scholarship now. Somebody's got to go.
Okay. All right, fair enough. It is the Modcast, the House Divided. It is the new show, if you will, the new spot for the Modcast. Now Tuesdays at noon. We appreciate you for jumping in. Damn near 400 of you in the Specs chat. We appreciate you. We appreciate all of our great partners around here as well. Of course, we mentioned Daily and Black earlier. Let me also mention Sinus and Snoring Specialist. It is one of my favorite places in the world because it's a place that got me breathing better and sleeping better back in 2017. They can get rid of your allergies for good. We're into February now, right? And the weather's great. This is one of those weeks where the weather's in the 70s or maybe into the 80s, depending on where you are. But it can also turn cold real fast. It can go from, hey, it wasn't raining to, hey, it just rained for 3 days. And that messes with your allergies. Used to mess with me too. Not anymore. They can get rid of them for good. There's no needles involved in that allergy testing, and they can test you for 50 different things at once. Find out what you're allergic to. They come up with these incredible allergy drops, and over about a 3-year period, your body develops the defenses, and you're good. It's fantastic. They can also deal with snoring, sleep apnea, and all of that stuff that's bothering you when you're trying to sleep, or maybe when someone in the bed with you is trying to sleep and it's driving you crazy. Get whoever needs to get there to Sinus and Snoring Specialist, 601-0303, or go to sinussnoringent.com. They can take care of you. All right. It is Modcast on a Tuesday. If y'all have any questions, comments, thoughts on it, you can do that. If you want to just throw one of these in, I will always see these. We appreciate you men too, Chad. See, there you go. There you go. They appreciate us. We're glad you appreciate us. So we talked a little bit about the portal, guys. I wanted to sidetrack maybe into kind of a portal discussion. I just want to get y'all's thoughts on Matt Rule, the updated comments. This will kind of lead us back around to a Texas spring game that I don't think's been scheduled yet. Matt Rule, there's a lot of reasons why coaches don't like spring games. We all know through the years. It's risk of injury. It's, do you really want to have a practice or do you really want to put a game out there? Well, what if I don't have enough guys? And COVID brought some questions up and things like that. But now this is a coach saying, a Power 4 coach, Big Ten, in the Big Ten saying, well, if I have a spring game, people are going to watch my spring game and poach talent. I just want to know if y'all buy this thought process. Alex, let me start with you. Does that mean you deal with obviously the scouting aspect of football a lot, the transition from not only high school to college, but right now you're into that college to pro vibe. You guys just got back from the Senior Bowl. Do you think teams are watching spring games looking for portal targets? Do you think Rule's right?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, if you're not going to be in a job long. You got to turn over every rock, man. It's like I was talking with somebody at the Senior Bowl who is somebody connected with a real, like a player at an SEC school that is one of the true like young stars of the SEC, right?
Mm-hmm.
To say like, and
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, dude, you have no idea how many phone calls we got after the season ended about, hey, just checking to make sure, like, if you guys getting in the pool, is this something they would never, after the season that they had, want to get into the transfer portal, right? You would think that they're set, they're probably making a bunch of money at their school, all that stuff. And he's like, dude, it's like hundreds. And I got to thinking about it. I was talking to this guy. I'm like, well, dude, you got to think about it. This is a numbers game. You got to turn over every rock. You got to try, it's like, what if it was, say, I don't know. What if it was like on just for Texas, say it was like Colin Simmons or, what I'm saying? Like somebody like that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you were from another school and somebody like Colin Simmons they actually ended up getting in the transfer portal. And you weren't somebody who called them and expressed interest and all this stuff, and you lost out on the chance. It only takes one of these guys saying, well, do you know what, man, at the end of the season, I kind of did have a falling out. He kind of did have a falling out with the coaches, and he's kind of not happy. Like, what are you guys talking about money-wise? You get one answer like that, and it's worth 150 times people saying, like, dude, what are you calling me for? No, I'm not getting the portal. Like, you got to look at every single angle for sure. So, yeah, dude, there are teams out there absolutely that are looking at these games saying, like, dude, this guy's behind this other guy. We know this one guy's really good. It's like the way that the way that all of this parity has been created across college football, it's been like, this has been talked about by everybody from coaches to media to everybody else. It's like your two deep isn't as good because these guys that are really good number twos, they get picked off. And so you watch these spring games, you're like, oh, he's playing behind this one really good player. He's been recruited over, whatever else. Let's see about getting him in the portal. Like, that was really good tape from that spring game. There could be some like third team guy that they're just like, whoa, like that guy's got some juice. Like it really is. Like, why do you think guys put film on Huddle? Like, football people are crazy about watching football film. They want to watch it. And so, like, I mean,
I guess I just never thought of it from that angle. Anwar, when I thought of that, I just thought of it as it's something for the fans. It's something to, keep that momentum going in the spring. To you, I would ask this follow-up. Do you think this would be enough that Rule could say to that fan base, we're just not going to have the spring game? It's 60,000 people there last year, Anwar. They're going to tell them all no spring game in April this year?
Hell no. You first of all, there's no athletic department that's going to turn down the revenue. Now, what athletic department is going to say, wait a second, so maybe we can get some concessions, we can sell some beer, we can sell some wine and alcohol, parking. And so you talk about
some sell tickets. Some sell tickets depending on who you are
as well. So you're telling me that
networks
first start. You're going to tell the athletic department that's one less revenue maker for you. And two, you're going to tell ESPN that you're not going to broadcast. You got nothing to broadcast. Wait a second. Why are we paying your conference X amount of dollars?
No arch for you this
yeah.
spring.
Oh yeah. Good luck telling ESPN you can't have Arch for a spring game. Like, shut up. Like, shit's not going to happen, okay? He can whine about it in the Crimea River. Well, guess what? Oh, there's a spring game. People get to watch it. You know what else people get to watch and potentially poach as players? The whole damn season. How about all 12 games in a bowl game? They get to watch that as well. Like, don't act like it's just one singular event, and that's the thing. You know what? And you know what? In life, people often project. And it's so he's saying something that he's thinking and that he's doing, because often you're doing that because that's what you're thinking. It's like that person who's like, "Oh, are you cheating on me?" And it's like, well, you're thinking that because that's what you're doing, right? That's what he's like. Oh, they might be poaching out players. You're thinking that because that's what it's happening. Like Matt Rule and all these coaches and all these people get on my damn nerves, because they're just so used to having so much control. And they live in an era that the players have control, and it upsets them. It upsets them that these are a group of people who selfishly you would be able to, if a guy wanted to go and transfer, they'd say, okay, cool. Well, you know what? You can't go to the SEC. You can't go into the ACC. You can't go there. Hey, you can go to some directional school in North Dakota. That's where we're at. Like, we live in a group of coaches who, while I don't like him, this is also a group of coaches. Don't forget Cliff Kingsbury was telling Baker Mayfield, who didn't even have a scholarship, where he could transfer to. Like, how idiotic and how control obsessed do you have to be for a guy that's like, I'm paying for my school? And you're like, hey, man, I don't know. You can't go to Oklahoma. Eventually, he relents because of the public pressure, right? So all these people are complaining that the players have control over things. And at the end of the day, if a guy wants to go somewhere, so be it. Let him be happy. And if a guy can go somewhere and make more money, hell, you go and do it. We just talked about Tashard Choice potentially leaving and potentially going to the Cowboys. No one was like, ooh, I can't believe that. Where's the transfer portal window for coaches? If you're going to do that, like, give me a transfer portal window for coaches that says you can only jump from one school to another within this small window. And then after that, you got to stay with your school, with your program. Don't want that. Matt Rule, at the end of the day, he's just one of these old coaches who is complaining about not having control. And that's all this thing boils down to. But at the end of the day, your athletic department is going to tell you to kiss their ass. You're going to put on that game because you're going to give us that money. And ESPN is going to tell you, if you want that TV package that you guys want and you want that next paycheck, you better not mess with our advertising dollars or anything like that, because you ain't going to like the results.
Yo, Anwar, I will say, though, man, like just from the Texas perspective, I mean, I put it in our in our private chat like a while back when saying, back probably a month ago, saying like, dude, I'm hearing from some people around the team that Sark's like, he's really interested in making the spring kind of like more like OTAs and stuff like this and having some changes. And I was like, man, we should just keep an eye on that for how the spring calendar is going to work, or if there's anything different. Then Jason, I don't know if you like, there was some stuff that you maybe heard. I don't know if you wanted to talk about it.
Basically heard very similar talk. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like there is something. And then the other thing that I heard just yesterday when I was asking about, it kind of came back up again. I was asking some people and they said, dude, like, they're like, man, guys are hurt right now. Like guys are banged up after that long season. Right.
That's
like,
what it boils down to. I mean, rules full of shit. Nobody's watching a glorified practice and poaching his players. Like Almar said, they have the whole season to evaluate film. Sorry, I'll cut you off, but what I'm hearing is people want to do away with the spring game and maybe the spring season by and large is because, I mean, you start in August and you don't finish till like late January of a lot of these teams. You get a few weeks off, or you get a week off, then it's off season, and then 3 weeks later it's spring football. And
dude, Jason, somebody told me, he said, don't be surprised if you start seeing guys saying they want to opt out of spring ball.
That's crazy, but like I kind of get it, right? That would be crazy, but who's going to do it first? But I kind of get it, man. I mean,
but the whole thing about doing it first, it's like Matt Rule was the first to talk about this thing about the spring game. You know that Lane Kiffin is thinking this. Sorry, if Sark's thinking it, Lane Kiffin's thinking it. They've talked about like there's a bunch of dudes who are out here who are thinking about this stuff. Now somebody's broached the actual like putting it out there for real, and now we might start to hear more people kind of talk about it. I guess I'm still with you guys though. That it's like, man, it's going to be a pretty tough hurdle to get it by the ADs and by the networks and by everybody else. I don't know what the fan sentiment would be. Generally, and Anwar, Jason, Chad, you guys know this better than anybody else. If the coach wants to do it and they say it's good for the team, does the fan base say like, well, if that's what coach says, that's what we want? Or they say like, no, man, he can't take away the spring game. I don't know.
Remember Sark altered the spring game a few years ago when he didn't have enough offensive linemen. Remember that? And so it wasn't.
I forgot exactly what that was.
It was like, I think it was year 1 or 2.
Yeah, they didn't have like a full 2 deep, right? To go.
He didn't have a 2 deep for offensive linemen. So he basically altered it. And it wasn't really a spring game. I don't even think they had a score, Jason, if I'm correct. I don't think there was a score. I
remember that.
It was like a practice, like a glorified practice.
Yeah, it basically was a practice is all it ended up being. And that was kind of the end of it. So Sark's tinkered with it, a little bit, but the more Sark, Jason, honestly, your point, the more Sark talks about how long the season is and trying to preserve guys and so on and so forth. Yeah, I mean, there becomes a question. But now, do you need the spring game is basically a scrimmage, right? 1 of the 3 scrimmages. So are they eliminating all scrimmages in the spring? And how the biggest difference in the NFL and college is, in the most part of the NFL, guys know how to tackle. When you get in college, you still got to teach guys a lot of fundamentals, and those fundamentals are going to have to come through some sort of contact. I don't know if you can go full like OTAs kind of thing and not have some bringing down to the ground, because if not, you're just going to have, take the over and everything in prize picks, because no one's going to be tackled to the ground if that's the case.
Yeah, and just to be clear, guys, as we sit here on this Tuesday, no Texas spring game's been scheduled yet, correct? We haven't heard it?
Has anybody's been so far?
I have not. That's a good point. I haven't heard of, I always assume it's that same time frame in April, but you're right. I've not heard of any power teams of the big dogs establishing it because normally we get, I guess it's going to be probably sometime in the next couple of weeks, because things normally crank up in the beginning of March, I guess is when it officially starts. But man, to Jason's point about the timeline, it is wild how long the season goes now. And then that, Anwar, I remember hearing you.
Well, I think you got the portal, you got recruiting, and
I think I remember
the dude who covers recruiting and some degree of the team. we need a freaking break, and so do the coaches, and so do the players.
Yeah, I think it was I don't know if it was in a war room or some of the reporting. I remember reading some Anwar stuff, and I think the phrase, it was like, believe it or not, winter workouts start this Monday. And I'm like, what did he just, what? Like, it just didn't make sense.
Then a 17-day break from the Cotton Bowl and in the start of winter conditioning. 17 days.
It's absolutely wild. Thank you all for these super chats that are coming in. We will get to those. Thanks again to Daily and Black for being the Modcast sponsor each and every week. Also, let's see what this one looks like here. Maybe get a little right on the side. That kind of fit in there. Also, a shout out to Texas Card House. They bring you House Divided every Monday through Friday at noon. So let's give them a little bit of love. And specifically, let's give Hijack Poker some love. If you love your online poker, it is back and is ready for you, as long as you're in the great state of Texas and you're ready to play some online poker. Go to hijackpoker.com, put that app on any device you want, and get to playing. You can deposit and cash out at one of those 6 Texas Card House locations if you like as well. Hijackpoker.com. Check them out. Shout out to TCH for their support, and TCH Social Austin's, where we did a lot of watch parties this year, and we will certainly hope to be back there this next season with a wild 2025 that is on the way. All right. We did have some super chats come in, so let me grab those. As we always say, they go right to the top of the list. A couple of $2 super chats. Every little bit helps, Jay. We appreciate you for throwing something in the tip jar. Banks could have sat out spring ball. See, this is the kind of phrasing I don't want out in the universe, fellas. I don't want stars sitting out spring football. Like, that's just, I don't know.
Did you mean Banks or Jeff Banks?
I'm assuming he meant Kelvin Banks this past season.
Oh, okay.
That's
not wrong. I mean,
Right.
and it would help. Maybe it helps development of some younger players. But I mean, you have to sit out. The coaches can also be like, "Hey, Kelvin, stand on the sideline. We're gonna use some of these younger dudes this week."
I mean, but you can go NFL preseason model. Have your starters. Do a series and then play a bunch of guys or whatever. So
I mean, what's Kelvin Banks going to do if he sits out spring football? Is he going to Cancun for a month? I mean, he's still going to be out there.
Just like, I envision it being like, speaking of like, some guys just like, they're like, some of these guys sit out, to camp during in the NFL and stuff. They don't go to voluntary OTAs. You know what I mean? It's not the new stuff that they do with, like, not holding out but holding in, so they can't get fined. I mean, it's just, I don't know.
I mean, Quinn. I mean, he only played one series in the spring, and then they went straight to Arch and Trey Owens this last year. So it's not unprecedented that you could just have, not play a lot of your guys in the spring game, because I think Quinn didn't play a lot, and I think a lot of those other starters got pulled pretty early, if I remember correctly.
Quinn played one series and he threw a pick 6, right? And they're like, "Oh yeah, Quinn, you're good." So, remember Alfred Collins, right?
Kind of a freaky pick 6. I think Alfred Collins only played that one play too.
Yeah, I think most of them are pretty. If I remember correctly, most of them only played like a series, and then they threw in the backups.
But just to be clear, I think what we're going to see sooner than later is players say, not even about the spring, just say, "I'm not doing spring practices." I think we're going to have players say that I'm just not doing it.
Man,
it's pretty ballsy if you go to your coach and be like, "Nope." Not doing it.
better be like Rudy. Everybody better turn their jersey in.
All right, we got a $10 super chat from Barb's 10. What's up, Barb's 10? Anwar, kickers got bills too. This isn't NCAA 25. How can you improve that position with walk-ons? Stop hating on kickers, Unc. LOL. As long as the spring game is profitable to schools, it is not going away.
No, I'm not. I'm hating on having so many kickers. That's my issue. It's not the kickers themselves. I'm hating on having 2 kickers. One is like, this guy kicks off and the other guy kicks field goals. And then you're like, all right, well, interesting. And now you've got 2 punters on scholarship. Like, that's my only thing. Like, there's just too much dedicated to that particular position, where you only have 1 each. And then
remember, Bert Auburn came in as a walk-on, and I mean, Texas has had some pretty good walk-on kickers over the years. So I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they couldn't find like a preferred walk-on type person to come in and help out. So,
it's happened, but it does feel like we're in an era where you find a badass. You're trying to find a badass kicker and a badass punter, and we kind of know where they come from. Rarely is that, best kicker you've ever seen just a walk-on that nobody knew about. So it's like, and I get Anwar, I get your point too. You don't want to feel like you're wasting a scholarship on a position like that, but then you have big moments in games where, this year we watched it. Texas's playoff run would have been affected if they hadn't overcome it, and that's back to the Bird Auburn. That's the thing I worry about, Alex. Total stats wouldn't be as important to me as you just saw him miss those kicks in those moments. What does that do to a kicker's brain?
I can't pretend to know. I don't know.
Me either, right? I don't know. I don't know what that means to him at this point. Barb's 10, thank you for that super chat. This is one that I'm not sure if we'll get the context here. $2. My point, there are candidates, just not many.
I think he's talking about guys skipping the spring game. Yeah.
Guys skipping out. Okay, gotcha.
Or spring season, rather. Yeah.
The spring season. Yeah, that is, it's going to be wild if that starts to happen. Because I love spring games. I love the spring game season. I'm not telling you I watch 5 of them every year, but I don't know. It just reminds you that, football's coming and all that stuff. And the other thing I wonder, guys, it's the battle between what will the network broadcast if you just turn it into a practice, like a true practice? We've seen those happen where the fans show up and realize, oh, they're just kind of running through practice periods and they're calling it a spring game. That's something ESPN's not going to allow. I say that. Can they control that part? Like Anwar, can ESPN?
Are you gonna have like the Pro Bowl when everyone's doing like tug of war or something? Like I don't know. Like what?
I'm just saying, if you make it a straight up practice, if you say, "Hey man, we're gonna do practice. We're not gonna keep score. We're gonna do practice," and you'll see guys go through practice.
Well, Chad, if it's a regular practice, you're gonna get like 2 team periods at least, so that'll be like kind of like a game. It'll be kind of like a scrimmage during team periods, but.
We've seen spring games go to the point now where I'm thinking of Alabama specifically. Nick Saban is standing on the field behind the team, and Kirk Herbstreit's there with a mic. They're just standing there talking. Marty Smith's out on the field. Like, that's kind of what spring games have turned into. I don't know. Maybe it's going to be even more of that. And then for Matt Rule, I don't know. Nobody wears numbers, so they don't know who your players are. I don't know. I have no idea.
It's the prevention of injuries, like Alex is talking about. I think that's more of a. If someone's leading with that, and like, how do you prevent the injuries with a long season that basically is 12 months at this point? You're literally saying you're starting. Your conditioning in January, and your last game, if all goes well, is in January. So if it's about like, okay, how does the spring game affect that? Sure, but can coaches adjust something in their practices during the week and still give the fans something? Because you still got to give the fans something, and you still got to give TV something. That's a product that's worth broadcasting. So I'm sure there are creative ways to do it, to make it entertaining, but yeah, I just don't know how you get rid of that kind of highly anticipated programming in April. So again, I think the easiest thing is let a guy go a series and then throw in your backups, and if the fans want to go out there and sit there and watch that, so be it.
Yeah. All right. We'll see what happens there. We got some other chats that came in. I don't see any super chats right now. So if you guys want to throw them in, we will get to those. It is the Modcast House Divided combo here on a Tuesday. This is the way it's going to be on Tuesdays. Moving forward through the spring, we'll do a show at 12, little Modcast, little House Divided, depending on how you look at it. Shout out to Texas Card House for their support of House Divided. And of course, Daily and Black bringing you the Modcast each and every week. Also, want to thank the good folks in Buda Taste on Main, one of my favorite places to go have a steak, go have a little seafood, go have a great drink. The Sam Elliott's Mustache, if you're into a whiskey drink, It's a great one. It's my favorite one there. Go check that out. Great environment, casual steakhouse. That's my kind of steakhouse. I don't need a stuffy steakhouse with a dress code. That's not what I need. I need a badass steak in a nice casual environment. That's exactly what you get with Taste on Main. Multiple bar areas, including the Treehouse bar outside that you're going to love, especially this right now. This gift of February we're getting right now with these 70, mid 70s temperatures. Get your reservation, get over to Taste on Main. You will thank me later. Downtown Buda, and then you can just kind of walk around Buda, hang out, do some antique shopping. It is a good time. Tell the folks we said hey here at Orange Bloods Live when you hit Taste on Main in Buda. All right. We mentioned a little portal stuff. Texas getting ready for, obviously, more winter workouts and spring workouts are coming and all of that. Also, Jason, we always say recruiting never dies. I know you and Anwar hit a little recruiting today on the old fashioned. We've got the recruiting show coming tomorrow. Your 321 article is out there. So I'm going to throw it right across the bottom here. These guys, there you go, orangebloods.com. Check out the 321 article. It is up right now at orangebloods.com. Jason, give everybody maybe a date in the future to circle and throw a name at me that's on your head, on your mind today in terms of recruiting.
I'll give you 2 dates, actually. One is, I don't even know the date, Chad. Hold on. Not this coming Sunday, but the next one, the 16th. That's the Under Armour camp up in Dallas. So I'll be up there for that. So we'll have a lot of content coming out of that.
Okay.
The big date that we're kind of circling right now for the summer is, the weekend of June 13th. That's when it's shaping up to be. Texas traditionally has one kind of massive recruiting official visit weekend. And they'll have other visitors the week before and the week after, but that week of June 13th is shaping up to be their big weekend. They've already started invited some guys. My list here, Jalen Lott, the 5-star cornerback / receiver, will be in town that weekend. And then they've really started hitting the offensive line heavy this year, which already hitting them early and hitting them heavy, which is good because they need to load up on offensive line. But Felix Ojo, potential 5-star player, will be in for that game. Toa Katoa, Zayden Krempin will be in for that weekend. And then Max Wright, who's an offensive lineman at Melissa, that I think is going to be in this class. He's actually coming in the 20th. He's not coming the 13th. But that June 13th weekend is shaping up to be the big kind of recruiting official weekend for Texas.
Oh, I am crossing my fingers.
What about turn time?
Nothing locked in yet, Alex. Yeah, good question. So.
First world problems, Alex. You can't just be happy with all that talent coming in, can you?
No, because Alex knows that the whole thing was, and hey, if you miss Fasusi, it's okay because you got turn time coming the following year. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, you missed Fasusi. Where's turn time? That's okay. He just wants to know if the bills are being paid.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say I couldn't believe so Ojo's ranked higher than turn time now, huh?
Yeah, honestly that surprised me when I saw it this morning, Alex.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, that is pretty wild. I'm also hoping for a Koa Katoa. That's fantastic.
Toa Katoa, yeah.
Toa
I'm not even
Katoa.
try to say it. It's Pupungatoa Katoa, but he goes by. Thankfully, he goes by Toa Katoa.
Smart, very smart on the kid's part. He didn't want to have everybody mispronouncing things left and right. So keep those dates in mind: February 16th and June 13th. Coming up, that big visit weekend. One of them.
There'll be a lot of events in between there, to be clear. I mean, rivals will have camps. There's camps down in Houston, 7-on-7. So they'll always be, as you know, Chad, always be recruiting stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we had some other thoughts on the spring game real quick to clean off these chats. South KMX airing the spring game live is just like giving the other team practice film, LOL. No,
you don't really show anything at the spring game.
Come on, you can't think of it that way. This says earlier, I didn't think about ESPN, ABC paying these schools to show the games. Money always wins. I think that is probably the case as well. Cotton says players want the spring game. Tired of banging on guys in practice, want a real thing. I wonder if that's how they think of it, Cotton. You think they think of the spring game as a real deal? Or do they just think of game one as a real deal? Like, I don't know.
They've been banging on each other. They've already banged on each other in 3 scrimmages prior to that, or 2. Was it 2? I forgot how many they get. But
I was going to say, Alex, it's the same thing, right, man? I've been tired of banging on guys in practice. So what am I going to do? I'm going to bang on guys in practice again, but the fans are here. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think that I think that narrative, like you said, is a little bit more of an end of fall camp kind of narrative. Get to go hit somebody else.
That's when you pull out the bingo card of cliches, and that's heading into the season. Oh, we're just tired of hitting each other. We're ready to hit somebody else. You're like, all right, go ahead and take a shot, take a drink, whatever, because you know that one is coming.
And by the way, I know there's lots of people, guys, that some of them don't like these type of games, but it's not just you get to hit somebody else. You get to hit some scarlet and gray. Like, that's pretty cool. That these two teams are getting together game one. There's no warm up. There's no lead up. There's no weird other non.
I still haven't wrapped my head all the way around that deal, man. It's like that's seismic stuff. Have they already announced that College Game Day is going to be there and everything? Like I'm sure that's coming. It's like
I don't think officially, but that's coming pretty quickly. And then we had one other one from our man Jay Lee. Spring game about people getting to come to the stadium, see the team, participate in activities. Nobody actually cares what they do for the game itself. I don't know. Nobody cares.
I mean, if I said, "Hey, man, who won the orange-white game 2 years ago?" You'd be like, "Oh man, orange won! Like I remember that." You're like, "Nah, I mean,
right."
That's but people do care. People care about seeing the guys that maybe like last year we reported a lot of like Ryan Wingo. You had a chance to like see him up close in person, right? Or Arch or Trey.
Jonte's first long catch from Arch.
Yeah.
You don't remember the score of that game, but you remember that play down the east sideline, right?
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
Individual little plays, moments of energy. You can get that with just practice type stuff. To Alex's point earlier, to team kind of reps. We're gonna run a little red zone. We're gonna run. Texas fans would really like to see some red zone practice, right? Sorry, I had to, but you could figure out something that's going to entertain fans enough. I hope they don't get rid of them. I hope that is not where we are headed. All right, fellas, I do have a little buy or sell for you before we close the door today.
By the way, before you go, I still would like to hear maybe just a little from Alex on his Senior Bowl stuff, things that he saw out there. I'm a little curious on it.
Yeah, so as far as the Longhorn guys, you guys know that only 1 out of 5 of them showed up. Barron Sorrell showed up, and it's lucky he did. I was hearing before practices that people were talking about him being like probably a 5th or 6th round pick, stuff like that. But then he goes on to win for the national team. He goes on to win the defensive line practice player of the week, which was like a big deal because you had guys on his team like Kennard from South Carolina. You had Shamar Stewart, who I think probably would have won if he would have stayed through the whole week, just because, man, that guy's Chad, how does that guy only get 1.5 sacks last season with as awesome as he is? I can't believe it.
That's a fair question. And he's the one, I believe, God, I get the Shamars mixed up sometimes. Wasn't he I think he was also the one that would just get involved in a lot of chirpy stuff in games.
He's just always there, dude. He's all like, so
but yeah, that was a disappointing number considering what he is.
He was really good, but he left early. The other guy, Mike Green from from Marshall. That guy will be a 1st round pick. He left early though. So Barron Sorrell had a couple of things fall for him to where he was gonna kind of move up the totem pole. They don't give practice player of the week to anybody that leaves early, right? But clearly the guys that left earlier, like their agents are saying, dude, you've done enough. It's time to peace out of here. So obviously those guys were great practice players, but Barron Sorrell, he did a great job for himself. I just think the other kind of thing that I heard is just in talking with people around there about Texas is about how, I'm not sure that Quinn Ewers might not. I'm not sure that he might go. I think he might go 1st round again. I think it's just we're kind of back to where he might just end up. They kind of, you look at the quarterbacks that were there and that were available there. And I know some people have really hyped up Jackson Dart. I like Jackson Dart. I don't see what people are saying. It's like, oh gosh, this guy could be quarterback 2 after that week at the Senior. Like, it wasn't that kind of week at the Senior Bowl for him. It was a week where people who I talked to who are like scouts and stuff saying like, who is the next guy after Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders? Like, is it really one of these dudes? Like, you know, how do you think Quinn's going to look at the combine? I'm like, well, like Quinn in a controlled environment within structure, he's going to look real good. It's like, well, it's you know, it could be a thing where he's, you know, he peels off as the third quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised. I was just convinced he was going to be one of these day 2 guys, one of these kind of Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo type of picks, right? I'm thinking now somebody might kind of creep up to pick him at the end of the first round. We'll see how he does through the rest of the process, but those would be kind of a couple of my general takes, and had a whole long list of them from the War Room last week that we put in with Cody. So if you guys want to go look at the forums on Orange Bloods, there's a War Room archive, and you can read last week's War Room with a whole lot of, you know, off the wall stuff, you know, general thoughts. But I think those were my 2 biggest takeaways.
Yeah, one of the things, since you mentioned it, Alex, is a great point. We mentioned this last week on a show, but if you guys have not checked out the last week's War Room was great. War Room's awesome every week. War Room last week, just a little extra special. It was really good. Lots of good content, including the Alex and Cody stuff from the Senior Bowl and from All-Star Game stuff. Specifically, the comments you guys got, Alex, of people connected with some Longhorn portal guys, I thought were interesting. Connected with Canoe, connected with Brevard. That's something that if I'm a Texas fan, that'd give me a little energy reading. It tells me a little bit more than just a height and weight type of thing. That would get me excited for some of those guys coming in. So check that stuff out at orangebloods.com if you guys haven't. It was really good. This was interesting earlier. And you know what, Big Cheddar? You have every reason to chat this. Only Aggies put the spring game into the official schedule and on the website. Big Cheddar, what am I going to say? My people are
it's a guaranteed
crazy.
W, man.
My people are my people. I can still remember where I was sitting when someone said it to me out loud, and I just knew they were kidding. There's no way it could be real. 2004, I believe, was the year. Hey, Chad, did you see the Aggies counted the spring game? What are you talking about? Go to the website. They counted the spring game as a win. Unbelievable. Just staggering. Like, if you've ever wondered why people, it literally happened. It's not some random Aggie joke someone made up. They actually did it. Yes. So yeah, I don't know. I've not had a response to it for 21 years now. And this is the idea I think everybody needs to head towards. If they do have a spring game, they should charge 5 to 10 for tickets and put all the money towards NIL. Wags, sure. Some, I don't know if anybody's gone to that level of it all goes to NIL. Why not? $5 or $10 and say everything's going to NIL. Sell the player merchandise, sell the player shirts and stuff like that. That'll go to NIL. It's not the worst idea in the world. Now, if you do that, you may want to give them something on the field that they'll be entertained by. Make sure make sure it's not a boring practice. If it's a practice, make it exciting. I think would be pretty good. All right, fellas, anything else we need to hit before we buy or sell and get out of here?
No.
Y'all good? Okay. We will do that right now. We'll get into a little Super Bowl stuff here too. But first, let's just circle back around to the original discussion. Buy or sell one. Anwar, we'll start with you. In 5 years, Texas won't have a spring game. Buy or sell?
Sell. Well, all the reasons we outlined.
Alex?
So,
Jason?
I'm buying it.
Yeah?
I think they're going to make.
I think there's going to be a push, but I don't think it'll be successful.
Either that changes, or they're going to change portal windows. I mean, it's the schedule.
I think that's what they'll do is change.
The portal window will change.
Yeah, you may be right on that one. All right, well, we will hope that spring game sticks around. Buy or sell number 2. Alex, we'll start with you. If KC wins, Mahomes is the MVP. If Philadelphia wins, it's Saquon. Buy or sell?
Super Bowl MVP?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly how it goes down.
Jason, you agree?
100% agree with Alex on his 100%. That's how it goes down.
Anwar?
Yeah, but I mean, Mahomes has got 1 foot in. It would take something crazy for that not to happen.
I will be shocked if Philly wins the game and somebody else is the MVP. Obviously, Hurts could do it, but I'm just there. Other than that, my boy, if one of those two guys isn't the MVP and Philly wins, that's going to be a wild game to watch. Obviously, the Super Bowl comes up at 5:30 on Sunday. Jason, we'll start with you here. Buy or sell number 3, 207 days until Texas at Ohio State. Horns win.
I still don't know how the hell you do that math so quickly, but oh man, you're gonna make me answer that already, Chad. I don't even know what Ohio State's roster is gonna look like. You know what? Like, I hate to do it, but I'm gonna sell. I'd probably take Ohio State at home as it stands right now. So
that's good. It's logic. Nothing wrong with that. Anwar, buy or sell?
I'll buy.
There you go.
They've got changes. DC. Offensive stuff so. This is going to be the first time they're running it. It's going to be live bullets, so it might be some hiccups. So at that point, I'll buy a Horns win.
Fair enough, Alex.
I'll buy. Why not?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Let's have some fun in February. Speaking of fun in February, Anwar, we'll start with you. Buy or sell number 4. You watched an hour plus of the Grammys. Buy or sell?
Sell. You should ask me if I watched a minute of it, and I'd still sell. So, no.
Alex, buy or sell?
I don't even know which one the Grammys is anymore. Whether it's the Grammys or the Emmys or the Oscars or whatever, man, it's like, yeah, you could have asked me if I watched 1 second and it would be a sell.
We are selling that one. Jason, buy or sell?
Sell. I'm like the other guys. The only thing I saw is the pictures of Kanye West's wife on social media. So
I saw those too.
That's the only thing I know.
We saw the only person on this staff that cares about award shows is Catch.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's literally nobody else on the staff that cares.
Yeah, and
I don't even know what day were those aired. Like, I don't even know what I was doing, man.
Some Jason would say that's all you needed to see was Kanye's wife.
Fair enough.
All you needed to see. Well, with that in mind, this one will be fascinating. Buy or sell number 5, fellas. We'll start with Alex. If your kid and or significant other wanted to go see Beyonce in concert, you'd go too. Buy or sell?
Probably sell. I tell them they could go, but I'm not gonna. I'm not paying for a ticket. I don't want to go. I'm not a fan of Beyonce. If it was a band, if it was like you telling me I can go, tell me it's something. They want to go watch Pearl Jam or you know what I mean,
right? I got you.
Be the Foo Fighters or something like that. But I'm
Jason. Buy or sell? Queen Bee live.
I'm not a fan, but anytime I can go experience something with my kids, my wife, I'd probably be like, no, you're gonna have to go with a friend. But if my kids want to hang out at a concert with me, I'm going to try to make that happen. So I would probably go. Hell, I took my daughters to see Kelly Clarkson when they were like.
I like Jason's angle on that. It's more like if it's I'm not. If my daughter would want to go and she's like, Dad, I want you to go. Of course I'm going.
There you go. So that's why I threw them in because that way the
Kelly Clarkson, and it was me, my wife, 2 of my daughters, and about 5,000 either women or gay people. And I think I was only heterosexual male in the whole thing.
Or both. All right, Anwar, buy or sell? They want to go. You're going to.
Hell yeah! Watch Beyonce shake that thing and live. Are you kidding me? The way she moves, hell yeah, dude! We get front row seats, boy. I'm gonna be up there, just hoping she just drops some sweat on me. I'm just hoping to grab something. You kidding me?
2 shows in Houston, kids, in the summer, in case you are interested.
I don't even need my kids for that. They don't want to see that go crazy.
Anwar's going to be like, I can only afford 1 ticket, and I got me a ticket. I'm front row center.
I'm a beehive that night. I can tell you that much. I'm trying to get backstage.
Oh, my God, that's fantastic. All right, before we get out of here, just one more of our great partners to thank, and it's AV Consultations. Get your setup, get your screen, get your multiple screens. Super Bowl's coming up. If you're not the house where they want to watch the Super Bowl, but you want to be, this is the place that can help you. 255-8678. They've been doing it since 1988. You know, the last time Notre Dame won a football championship, still and counting. That's when they started. So they've been doing it that long. Get the bigger screen you've always wanted, the better screen. Let them handle all the details. Let them buy the TV. Let them buy the speakers. They'll set it all up for you. They'll make sure you're satisfied. 255-8678 or go to avconsultations.com. All righty. About ready to wrap up this special edition of the Modcast. And again, remember, Modcast moving forward here in the spring. Ketch has acknowledged that Tuesday's got to be a work day. Boss got to go boss on a Tuesday. So I will be stepping in on the Modcast as long as the fellas will have me. They will be getting you all the great information, the very latest from Longhorn World, and we'll be hopefully getting you an entertaining show. Thank you guys. Almost 600 of you.
Chat.
Yes, sir. What do you got?
The Super Bowl, and I did a press conference, and this is Beyonce at the press conference. And I was there front row, and because that's when she performed in one of them, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I got to see that."
Okay, yeah, there you go. Anwar, investigative reporting from Anwar.
Yes. I'm there. Just wanna let you know.
Oh my goodness, Anwar, when my child told me she wanted to go see the Beyonce movie, I used your logic of, wait a second, I'm going to be looking at Beyonce for like an hour and a half or whatever. It is one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. I'm not going to lie. I enjoyed the movie thoroughly. All right. Thanks to the fellas for doing it today. Thanks to all of you for jumping in. Thank you all for liking and subscribing and getting your notifications. Remember, if you haven't had enough Alex Dunlap today, you're like everybody else. Football with Friends at 6 with Alex and Cody. If you're thinking, where can I get a little more of that Anwar Richardson guy? That's the old fashioned. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. It's the best way to wake up, unless you're waking up next to Beyonce. Anwar's second place, right there in the silver medal position. And if you're wondering, does the left side of this screen ever just get together and talk recruiting? Yep. 10 o'clock tomorrow on a Wednesday. That's the recruiting hour. Jason will give you the very latest in recruiting, coming off of junior days, getting ready for what's the next big date. And there's plenty of updates about what guys are saying about Texas. And this just in, some of them say really good things about Texas. We'll get you all filled in on that and probably ask him about turn time tomorrow on Wednesday. It'll happen. I'll make sure to throw that in for you guys. So that's all your stuff. Thank you for supporting Orange Bloods Live. We appreciate you. Y'all take care. And we'll be back next Tuesday at high noon for another Modcast. Shout out to Daly and Black. Shout out to TCH, Texas Card House, who brings you the House Divided each and every day. And we appreciate you for checking out the show today. Y'all take care. Enjoy this great weather in Central Texas. See ya.